Okay, so it is June 10th, 2024, and the Board of Health meeting in Fairfield is called to order. In terms of the minutes from last meeting, any additions, corrections? So can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
No opposed?
It was an aye, yeah.
Good. So we approve the minutes, and so we can move on to Sam's directive.
Sure. So I had a presentation that I wanted to show you, so I just added my comments to the presentation up here. But just to do an update on H5N1, there was an additional case in Michigan, so now there's a human case, in one in Texas and two in Michigan. There was the case in 2022, but in 2024, we have 3 cases right now. The interesting thing with this third case was respiratory symptoms. And so he had a cough. Well, I think I have it here, but just showing you what's going on in the States, and it continues to spread.
I'm just curious to know if there's a connection between Michigan and Texas. Did they say anything? Like an animal that maybe went from one to another or anything?
You know, there's, from what they say, there's not a lot of interstate commerce in dairy cattle. Like, they kind of stay where they are. So they don't, I should say that there's not a lot of interstate commerce in milk. But you know, there are like auction houses and things like that, but they haven't yet found any kind of connection that they've reported on with the dairy cattle. One of the things the CDC was talking about this last call last week was the first ever H5N2 human case in the world, so also a bird flu. Found in Mexico, a 15-year-old man who passed away, most likely due to underlying issues. He didn't have any exposure to farm animals and was bedridden 3 weeks. So they think it was, you know, maybe somebody coming in to visit him at his house or something like that, but that raises questions of how did it spread. So they're not quite sure on that one yet. And again, I didn't put it in there, but he had respiratory symptoms as well. For measles, we've got 151 cases in 22 states and jurisdictions. So far in 2024, there's been 11 outbreaks with, you know, clusters of 3 or more cases. And 67% of the cases are outbreak associated. For comparison, in 2023, there was only 4 outbreaks of measles. So it's still going on, but as you'll see here, it's somewhat trailed down. We're hoping that will continue to trend downward with this weekly measles cases and where they're occurring. And you can see most of the cases happen due to single outbreak in Illinois. I think that's Illinois, right? Yeah. That's Illinois.
Yep.
And in terms of respiratory viral illness, in Connecticut, you can see everything is pretty much trending down towards background levels, with the exception of influenza is still a little higher than, you know, the bottomed out portion in the middle there. Some other activities that have gone on this past month. We did have a social media workshop. We brought in 2 sort of national experts on social media, a professor and an emergency manager. And it was very good. Went over sort of the nuances of it and the demographics and the target audiences and that type of thing. Didn't get into much into message crafting other than the crisis and emergency risk communication types of approaches that we had one of the same people last year up at the GE building for SHU came, and we had another like probably 150 people for that. where they talked about sort of message crafting and, all the templates that you have for, compassion, conviction, optimism, 27 words, 9 seconds, 3 points, and all these things that to encourage the crafting of a message that you get all your points in a concise manner that kind of will be the sound bite that gets played on TV. So designing your messages like that. We are still meeting about the opioid settlement funds. We had a meeting with the First Selectman Chief of Staff, Fairfield Cares Chairperson, Julie, the Human Social Service Director, and Kristen McCarthy-Vahey, our state rep, to talk about different, what projects we want to do. We really haven't done anything yet with the money, in which they put out a report just in the end of March. The opioid settlement advisory committee at the state put out a report of what people have done so far. So part of the deal with getting the money is you have to submit a report by the end of December. That report gets tabulated into a report that they put out about what people are doing. And so at least that gives us some ideas to choose from. It kind of says this is what we did with the money and how we spent it. But we're still kind of looking at that. We met with, at that meeting, we had a rep from New Canaan, and New Canaan has New Canaan and a few other area towns developed what they call a rapid assessment program based upon, and I always, Silver Hills, is it?
Yeah.
Silver Hill.
Yeah, Silver Hill. So Silver Hill down that area sort of entered into agreement with the town of New Canaan. It was a bit expensive. It was like $250,000 for the first year, but basically they guaranteed within 48 hours anybody who has a need to get a rapid assessment for behavioral health, for substance abuse. They would be seen within 48 hours by one of their staff, and that staff would arrange for that individual to take whatever the next step is, to make a connection, like case management, to whether it was, if it wasn't acute enough, they would set up an appointment with a therapist that would sort of prioritize some of these folks to get in, and in some cases they would simply admit them. And so we had one of the reps from New Canaan, the Human and Social Services Director, come and talk about their program and how it works and some of the changes. And, it's definitely utilized, but it's the costs are an issue, and, the opioid settlement funds probably aren't enough to sort of take on that kind of level of funding. But so we're trying to explore what are some of the creative options, because we really want to get into, we want to do a little bit of everything, a little bit of prevention, a little bit of harm reduction, a little bit of services for people who are in crisis, and try to make some kind of arrangement. So we're kind of hitting on all of those. So we'll still continue to meet. Today we met with St. Vincent's program, which is the former Hallbrook facility, to talk about the same kind of thing, their rapid assessment type of program. But theirs is a hair different in the sense that, they won't even do the assessment. They'll arrange, if they don't have a bed that the person can go into, they won't even do the assessment. They will, network it out to a companion facility and try to get that if they can't do it. But they said most of the time, they have enough discharges on any given day that they have a free bed that could get someone in.
What about partnering with like Liberation or Regional, something along those lines?
I'm not.
Liberation programs, regional network of programs. I mean, they're substance use disorder programs locally here.
Okay.
I know Regional has a place actually right over on State Street Extension across from McDonald's there. They've got a methadone clinic there. Liberation is right next to Bridgeport Hospital, right in the facility there.
Yeah, I haven't heard that entity mentioned in any of these meetings, but we can look them up.
And they both run various types of opioid use disorder treatment programs from, I think they're doing Suboxone also, but they definitely do methadone And of course, all kinds of outpatient counseling and services as well, from intensive outpatient programs to less intensive counseling services
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of trying to take our time and not, commit to spending money, without putting enough due diligence into it to say, what's the best approach to this money? Over the 18 years, it may be, $620,000 or something like that, but it's over a long time. So we got a little pool of money, and now then it'll be sort of smaller, $20,000, $30,000 a year. And so it's not enough to do something grand, but so we want to, sort of put in place and, programs and try to evaluate them and see what's successful. We were spending some time on that. I did get a chance to attend the Medical Reserve Corps National Conference in Chicago. I can say Lou Malnati's pizza is better than Giordano's, I think it is the other one. And there was it actually was a good conference. Most conferences lately, I think I'm getting to the age where it's like, heard that, yeah, hearing presentations from people that, have, 2 years experience in something, and, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I kind of know that already. But there was a talk, the woman, ER physician that was in the tent at the Boston Marathon, talked about her experiences in 2 different talks. So I saw both those, and her pitch was about what's called, minding the gap, and the need to promote what she called spontaneous responders and improve the skills of people in the communities to spontaneously respond. Because she said the 5 minutes between when EMS started rolling up in any kind of significant number to the bomb sites was, 5 to 7 minutes in there, and that people are already doing stuff. And she showed plenty of videos and pictures of describing it. This guy is taking his belt off to do another tourniquet on this patient, and and talked about and every victim, she could describe exactly what happened to that victim and the injuries and the how it stuck with her. And but just the importance of and I think her pitch was, here's the Medical Reserve Corps is a volunteer organization. It's local, community-based. It's perfect. It's a perfect vehicle to offer kinds of trainings that can help people be better prepared in situations like that. And so programs like Stop the Bleed or Until Help Arrives are out there. And I think her pitch was just really to promote those types of programs, to have to get a tourniquet and to glove boxes and to purses and backpacks and be ready for that, because she said kind of most people will want to respond, they want to help, and so to give them some kind of skills in that regard. And then she talked also about for the first responders at the event, they had plenty of after action debriefings and counseling programs available to them, and all sorts of resources for fire, police, and EMS, and that there was nothing organized for the spontaneous responders. The people that were there, were helping, were in the midst of it, were injured themselves but helping other people, that they had no behavioral health follow-up for those people. And it was actually the responders themselves organized it. One of the restaurant owners who had all his windows blown out and had, bodies in his establishment, she went to the restaurant and talked to him, and they shared about, lost sleep and the visions of what they had and the helplessness they were feeling from the trauma of it all. And so they organized a support group. They had an event at the restaurant inviting those people, and and started meeting regularly. So the importance of just not, talking to people that everybody in there is running a unit of volunteers that focuses on preparedness, that we should be prepared to offer that kind of training to people. So it was very good in that respect, and a couple other good trainings. We had about, 9 people from Connecticut there. Stanford was represented with Brittany and lots of other towns. We did get, for our immunization grant, we did get Board of Selectmen approval to sign the contract for the marketing agreement. So I think, as I said numerous times, it has a $50,000 that we have to spend on marketing for immunization. So, any contract above $10,000, we got to get approval for the first select person to sign the contract. And so we got the approvals. We had the first selectman sign the contract. We entered into the agreement with Daydream Communications, and we are, moving ahead. We've had several meetings with them about the content of their marketing materials and have made suggestions along the way. And so they are very making edits and changes and things like that to put out what we think will be a good product. There'll be essentially 3 big media pushes starting over the summer with, back to school vaccination, in the fall for flu and COVID vaccination and RSV, and then again next spring and winter time for, continuing for flu.
Sans, will any of that material be available in other languages?
Yeah. Yep. So, and we are working, I think I said this, but working collaboratively with Darien, Norwalk, Westport Weston, Fairfield, Trumbull, and Stratford are all doing working with the same company. So we all met together, reviewed different proposals from different companies, and we selected this company such that all the materials would have a common theme, appearance, look the same, and that they would be customized locally. So if we wanted to have a billboard, they would do the artwork and stick in our town of Fairfield Health Department kind of thing. So we'll continue to do that. Santina's been working on hiring for that, and we've had we've had people that got hired and then had to leave in a couple weeks for various reasons. So another round of interviews, more people being offered positions, and just trying to get people in the spots. We do have the community health worker on board and is working now. One of the approaches that I think it was Jill's idea, right, is to have them go in and enter the.
Julie and we heard about it at another town.
Yeah. Just take credit for it, will you? She's not here. No.
Maybe on the phone.
Yeah, she didn't speak up. But to go back in and starting with seniors in high school is to put all their vaccinations in CT Wiz. And so working backwards so that all the historical is in there, so we think that's a good project. It offers value for them.
It really does.
Yeah. So we're working to do that.
Sorry, so was there I don't really ever use CT Wiz since I don't do primary care, but was there no catch up for, school-age kids already? I mean, did it just start at some point and going forward, that's what it was? There's no backlogging of anything?
Yeah, well, I think if you had it was only put into law that you had to enter into CT Wiz about a year and 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So prior to that, people were loosey-goosey about filling it in.
Oh, okay.
Some of them are great, some of the ones from PHA.
All valid stuff is in there.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was standard or not, but.
No.
I think it's on the pediatrician.
And the technology has caught up a little bit better too in terms of interfaces.
So like Epic can throw into it or something.
Yeah, there are EHRs that are better at interfacing and providing the information, whereas before it was okay. Well, you'll fill it out, fax it to the state, or you have to go online and fill it out on your own. So
yeah,
systems have gotten.
Yeah. So that's one aspect of what we're doing with the immunization grant. We hope to, once we get the nurse on board, to ramp up and be able to offer additional vaccinations.
The clerk is amazing. She is just a rapid fire.
Perfect.
Data entry.
So that's one of the things we're working on. Just last week, our department organized and held a community preparedness forum with a focus on service providers for those with access and functional needs, those like homebound, long-term care facilities, nursing homes, assisted livings, visiting nurses, and, you know, it was basically, we've done this, I think, in 15, 17, and 19, and we've just getting back to it now where we meet with those providers. We do a tabletop exercise. They have requirements for them to have tabletop exercises with the community, and so it meets that need for them. And it's really just a chance where we can meet those people, have a conversation with them. It's a very low-key exercise designed just to get people to talk about, you know, what they do, their facilities. This tabletop exercise this year was a cyber attack on internet providers. You know, and again, there's like Verizon, and then there's above Verizon and those types of companies is these other entities that are like the water mains of the internet. And
Amazon Web Services.
And there's another one, I forget what the name is, but there's only a handful of big providers that sort of manage the higher level of the bulk traffic of the internet. And so it was designed, we met with our IT person to kind of talk through the reality of the scenario and help us kind of craft it. But so it's just basically an outage of internet access, and to get them to talk about what it might impact. And so, for example, like if they have phones like this or the VoIP phones over the internet, they lose all their phones. What is their backup communication? And you know, seeing them realize like, well, we have a backup cell phone in a case that is, you know, charged, and we do this, and it's like, nope, that's not going to work because it's going to go over the, you know, internet. Most of the phones go over the internet when it's a cell phone, and so just kind of walked them through a couple different scenarios to say, all right, you know, think about these things. And there was a couple eye-opening moments where the people were just like, okay, you know, we got to go back to our facility and work on this and change this and make adjustments. And really, that was one of the goals, is just to get them to think about that stuff. And then the other one's really just, you know, now they know the fire chief's name, and they know the police salute captains, and they know Jill and me and Santina, and yeah. So it's I thought it went well. It would have been nice to have a few more entities there. So we're going to kind of work on trying to arrange something where maybe they shared about a regular meeting they have in the fall, and trying to sort of piggyback on that, where they're compelled to attend that other meeting by the state, I think. And so we want to try to tag onto that to get more people there. So we've had a couple of different instances of, you know, we had to exclude a food service worker who had a confirmed foodborne illness. We had to provide stool culture kits and collect them and ship them up to the state. It took a couple rounds for the person to get 2 negative cultures to be able to return to work. So it's always very stressful for food workers. And then we've had 3 other foodborne illness cases. One in a child care worker, you know, so 2 Campylobacter and 1 Salmonella. And then we also had somebody with a diarrheal illness that the state wanted to see if they were associated with another outbreak going on. So we provided stool cultures and sent them up to the state to test for norovirus. And so just you know, relatively active last couple months in that regard. And we did issue one order for abatement of a potential mosquito breeding site on the property, you know, abandoned pools and buckets. The house is abandoned, house is not occupied, and an old pool there, buckets and other things around the yard that are collecting water. And so we're trying to get that moving forward. And then just to this is what we've had so far this year. It's 17 cases of potential foodborne illness. And so it's relatively evenly split, first year, second, 9 cases in the first half of the year, 8 in the second half. But so, yeah, we will, depending on how, I'm going to talk about this, about how we collaboratively investigate a foodborne illness in the state, and so I'll talk about that, but I thought I'd show where we are with this year with foodborne illness. So, it's a fairly regular thing, and on top of this is people who call to complain that I got ill at an establishment, and I think you need to look into it. And so we have what's called the GEDIF, General Enteric interview form. It's later in the presentation, but so this is something that was the state gave parts of this, and so I just thought I would steal it and show it here. So there's 80 different types of infectious diseases reported to the state. And this is for some of you, this is old news, but and then these get reported both by providers with the PD23, and then the labs will submit the OL15C form, and they prefer that it's done electronically. And so in Connecticut, the systems that investigate cases of foodborne illness or potential foodborne illness, foodborne pathogens, is the collaborative between the CDC, the state, and the local health departments, and Yale working together to investigate these properly. So there's always, we have this funding from what's called the Emerging Infections Program. There's 12 sites around the country. Connecticut has been one since 1995, and that's under that program is what's called FoodNet. And then there's also the ELC grant, the Epidemiology and Laboratory Capacity Grant, that every state and territory gets, and large cities get that funding as well. And under that, they do Food Corps. So there's, in addition to the locals, there's FoodNet and Food Corps at Yale and the state. And so Yale runs the FoodNet program. The state DPH runs Food Corps, but they all work together with us as well to, anytime. So all those cases that I talked about previously, it's all, sometimes it's us calling the state to say, hey, we got this, and sometimes it's the state calling us to say, hey, we got this. Can you do the stool cultures for us? Because it'll be like, this person has a foodborne pathogen. They work at this restaurant in X town, but they live in Fairfield. Can you drop off the stool culture? So we'll go there and drop that stool culture kit off to them, collect it, get it back to the lab. And so it's kind of how we work together to investigate all these. And so we'll be the implementation part of it, putting in interim controls, excluding people, issuing orders if we have to. And the state will take the lead on the interviews, because some of the pathogens, they have expanded interview forms, so for this particular pathogen, we've got the regular question set and then these 20 questions. So, and there's the FoodNet and Food Corps are research-based. So they're really conducting studies, and so they'll select the pathogens that they're trying to do national studies on. They'll do the interviews on there. We'll implement the controls and do like food worker interviews locally. And again, I talked about this, just some of the things that, FoodNet will take some of these that they're doing studies on, and basically they'll go through these steps, and that's sort of the goal of it, is to, disseminate information that can improve, the practice of intervening on foodborne illnesses. And the Food Corps program, there's, as I said, there's a little bit less the Food Corps, but Connecticut's been one, but it's covering about 58 million people, the people in Food Corps. And here's what's going on with FoodNet data for the last I think that's 25 years. You can see what's been going on with various different pathogens that they'll do. And so while we're seeing, on some of them a slight trending upward, it's, in the last couple of years, on a few of them, mostly, if you were to draw, plot a line through those, most of them will be close to level over this time. And just on how the state receives cases, 30% electronic, 67 from laboratory reports, and then another 2%, 3% on audits they do of cases. And so one thing the state does for us is they make the determination, is this a new case or is this an old case? And so for certain pathogens, if it's within 30 days, they'll consider it the same case. And it works down to, if it's within 365 days for salmonella, they'll consider it the same case if that person has become, a carrier. And I thought some of these were interesting just to show, what we're seeing, and they break up Campylobacter in ones. We do all the ones, local does all the ones that are non-Quest Campylobacter, and the state, FoodNet does the Quest Campylobacters. But so this is the breakout of just by pathogen, and then who's doing the interviews. FoodNet will do 50% of them. DPH 14 will do 37% of the interviews throughout the state. So it's a really big benefit to the locals. I was here before this started kicking in fully. They would, back in the beginning, it was like, we'll take salmonella, okay, and then you do the rest, And so it's really ramped up where they've gotten better at it and, have added more staff. And it's really done by MPH students. It's like a part-time job. Well, people are up at Yale doing MPHs in Southern and other schools of public health. So I think I covered that. I just thought this was interesting data that you would find interesting. Just talking about foodborne outbreaks by year for the last 20 years. And you'll see, the ones in yellow were just Connecticut-based outbreaks, and then the red are cases in Connecticut related to a multi-state outbreak. And so you'll see what's going on there. So, as we, you can see where whole genome sequencing came in, you'll see the number of national outbreaks sort of spike up there as they're picking up on more cases because of the improved technology. And so, and this is causative agents of the outbreaks. Over the 20 years, to 429 outbreaks. Red bacterial, yellow viral, gray parasite, what I call that teal, toxin mediated, chemicals and undetermined in green. And so you can see sort of the bacterial it seems to be going up, and the viral seems to be going down somewhat. And by outbreaks by etiology, the 38% of the outbreaks are norovirus, salmonella for 154, and then the others kind of break up there. And then by setting, so 50% of the outbreaks are restaurant deli caterers, 33% are private homes, 7% is other, and then you can see the other smaller slivers of the 1, 2, and 3% there. But just 20 years of outbreaks, and this is where they're coming from. And then this is how were they detected. And I think this is, I didn't take exact notes, but I think public called in and said, hey, we were all at this restaurant and we all got sick. And so that started the outbreak investigation, done by the testing method. by surveillance with other outbreaks and pulling new cases in, and then you can see the breakdown there. And then there's non-food source outbreaks, and this kind of surprised me, but the sources of live poultry, bearded dragons, turtles, pig ear, dog treats, other pets and animals, farm animals, two different swimming water, Shigella soni and E. coli norovirus related to swimming water outbreaks. And just that the Food Corps, Food Net program has been a success. The CDC has featured it in terms of some of the good things it's doing. And just, we get a letter like this every year that says, hey, here's the diseases we're going to investigate. Henry's probably seen this a bunch of times. And, they say, you guys interview these ones, we'll interview these ones. We'll work together on sort of trying to figure it out and prevent anything in the future. Like I said before, we're the action steps. We're the people that go out to the restaurant that will secure food samples, food worker interviews, stool cultures, all those kinds of things. And then we'll work with DPH DPH will design the investigation and assist with the control measures. This is that general enteric disease interview form that we fill out. This is the Salmonella and Campylobacter one. But this also exists in the program called CT-EDS. And what they focus on with sort of the single cases interviews is really like, what's the risk? Are they a food handler, a daycare worker? Do they provide direct patient care? And so we will, in those cases, exclude people and require them to take cultures until they get 2 clear ones. And again, this is just about, we'll order from the state lab, from the outfit room there, the stool kits. We'll deliver them, and the people help fill out the forms. And just a picture of what we get provided in the directions. And then the central point for all this is CT-EDS, which is the surveillance system for infectious diseases for the state. And so, we can basically, so they can email us a number and say, hey, check out this case. And we log in, pull up that number, and we can say, okay, here's this going on, and there'll be a text box there say, we want you to do this, So it's or we can put in our content of saying, hey, we made 4 attempts to call, knocked on the door, no response, and so that's the summary of the systems related to investigating foodborne illness and foodborne outbreaks in Connecticut. That's my report.
Interesting. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I thought you would enjoy that.
Complicated. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to go through a few things. Not long of fans, I don't think. Hopefully, but I haven't been here since February, so.
You've been off the hook for a while.
Yeah, we've a few cancellations. It's all good. I wanted to review the statewide immunization survey results. They were released last month, and although our immunization rate is really quite high, we're at about 95.7%. It's dropped from last year, 21-22, when we were at 98. Now, of course, I asked the state, what's the significance of all this? And they're not going to say too much about it. Of course, they're going to say, well, we want everyone to be compliant at 100%, but that's not the reality of it. They did mention, and I think it was brought up there with measles, that they really look for a 95% immunization rate among a particular group to prevent any sort of a spread.
With the exemption eliminated now, why do we see numbers going down? Shouldn't it should be the opposite?
I think what happens, we still have a lot of vaccine hesitancy that we have to address. And also, these surveys are done at the beginning of the school year. So we'll get a new flood of kindergartners. And this is a group that really was at the height of it, coming on through and really delaying their vaccines. So they are on, the catch-up schedule, thank you. And that can go on for quite a long time. It's, they have 30 days beyond their scheduled appointment schedule So at the beginning of the school year, yeah, it's gonna be bad. If they did it now, I'm sure they would have all caught up, but then again, next fall, I think we'll probably be around that same measure, about 95%.
Do you still have some that were grandfathered in? Because we had issues in Stanford with those that sort of grandfathered in before the...
Well, it went away in April of 2021, the religious exemption.
Right.
So, and those children had to have been enrolled in kindergarten, so that should not exist anymore. So what people have done is, with medical exemptions, they're not difficult to get. They're really not. You could say that Great Aunt Tilly had I really don't want to say this publicly, but, they could have had a familial allergic reaction going back generations, claim that, and they could...
That qualifies them?
If you get a physician to sign off on it.
Shame on them for signing that.
Who's signing off on that?
Well, there's there's practices that agree with those principles, that, and they'll assist in their, addressing their client's wishes.
And I see them, because I review them all in Stanford. They're less than a handful of providers that consistently come in. So,
Yeah.
and I think the vast majority of physicians are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But interestingly, I had a phone call today, perhaps I shouldn't say it, it might be, okay, no name, but a graduating senior in town, religious exemption, has very few vaccines, and guess what? You can't go to college if you don't have documentation. So they are on, high-speed catch-up schedule to get everything done by the time they go away to school. What also has happened is that, we always had Tdap and MCV4, the quadrivalent vaccine for entry into 7th grade. Now, colleges want a booster of that. Plus, they also want Menactor B, which we're going to give now, Sans. Did Julie talk to you about that? Oh, okay. We just ordered some.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I think that'll address, what's happening is that, the parents will call up, holy cow, we left our pediatric practice back in March when the child turned 18, and we didn't know about Men B, but now we have to have it, and nobody has it. So we're just kind of filling a little gap in there as well. So that's good.
But just, that the whole intent of the immunization grant is to address that hesitancy and the reluctance, and that's what this campaign is about.
The media.
Right. Yeah.
You have to counteract the social media garbage hard. Right, that's where a lot of it comes from.
Yeah.
I think it's education on social media, and...
the approach is, again, there's certain people out there that we're never going to change their mind. And then there's one group that's on the fence. And so media campaign is to address, try to answer the questions, the typical questions that people have for those that are sort of like, well, I'm not sure, I just haven't gotten around to it, or, and so we will, that's the intent of that, is to kind of, and again, we're not beating people over the head. It's a very subtle, message, and just saying, it's really directing them, where can you get more information on vaccines? And so it will create a website, and that'll lead to other places where, they'll have the whole trusted messenger videos and other things there to help people, make a decision, and they make this decision they want. And,
yeah. I think, Henry, if you're reviewing the medical exemptions down in Stanford, one kind of somewhat unknown fact is that these providers, they just can't sign it off. They also have to submit it to the state.
Yes.
And I think that they are creating at the state level some sort of a database, like who are the biggest offenders, and kind of address them at
I
that.
got a stack of the copies of the letter sent out by the commissioner early on, laying out exactly what they need to do. So when it comes in, faxes the form over, just reminding them that this needs to be done. It's documented in the chart that says you notified provider.
Yeah.
So if there's ever any issues that pop up, it's like, told you.
Yeah, I don't know where we can do the checkup on that. We don't have access to the submission database.
Right.
We just tell them, as
No,
you do,
that's the problem. We don't
you
have.
gotta do it. So. Okay, moving on. Number 2, Narcan training. So as I probably may have mentioned in my last meeting, that there was a new statute that there were volunteers, quote-unquote volunteers, to be had at every school. We had initiated on our own at the middle school and high school level for volunteers, non-nursing, anyone really. I mean, coaches, who's ever going to be there on the off hours. We wanted those people to get trained in Narcan. So we did that. We have all, with the exception of ECC Ward, the early childhood school at Ward, and a couple of private schools who just said, we really don't do after night, evening presentations or anything like that. So we're not going to have anyone volunteer to do it. But we worked with the people at the Hub, which is one of those regional organizations you were talking about with the opioid concerns, and people at the Hub, and we got everybody. We got at least 2 volunteers from every other school to come on in and get trained. Now, my next question for that is, we don't know if it's just a one-off, do they just get trained? Because that's all the statute mentions, that they have to be trained, and we did that, and we got the supplies. The Hub also provided a free supply of Narcan to us that we keep in every AED in school. If you take a look at it, there's going to be a Narcan supply in there, every school. I think that people leave, people come, people go. We don't know. We have our list now for this year who's trained in the schools, but of course that's going to have to change as staffing changes, and if the state does introduce another statute, it's an every 2-year kind of training that has to be done. So we'll do it, because that way we get free supply of Narcan, so we're happy to.
Unfortunately, the training it's not that complicated.
Oh, no. But I have to tell you that
Refresher.
the gal at the Hub who came in, the administration was nothing, but the whole background of it, and to really make people aware of how widespread the problem really is, and how we're coming this close a lot of times to losing a lot of people, was really, really powerful. And they got more, it was an hour. You certainly don't need to get trained for an hour on Narcan admin, but it was well worth it.
On that note about the widespread problem, I've thought about this a couple of times now. When we go to Holland Hill, we have an event there where it's have an after school, all school event, everyone's coming, we're having, a gathering of some sort out there, we have hundreds of people, and the AED is locked inside the hallway, where no one can get to it with the Narcan. And so it's there, and so after school hours, we may not be able to get a hold of, the custodian quickly to get in there. So if we have an emergency out back, no one can act quickly.
You guys don't go through the front hallway there? Would you have activities into the APR right there?
Well, no, we'll have things out back in the back playground area.
Yeah.
We'll have we've had the spring luau, a couple weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
And so we do that, a few times a year with, big gatherings, a lot of people back there. And there's quick access to those emergency supplies. I think it'd really be great if we had access outside as well, those things, which I know there's a lot of costs involved with for various reasons, right?
Yeah. The bigger schools, certainly, the high schools have a few.
I'm sure with football fields and stuff probably,
They have it down by the athletic trainer office, and I think they have 2 others by the nurse and by the main entrance to the high school.
But are they locked in the schools?
They're locked in the hallway,
Right.
not the actual boxes.
Not the box?
The boxes you can open right up.
Because I thought the boxes they're unlocked and alarmed.
They're unlocked. If you open it up,
But when you
You'll
can't get
hear
to the
the-
hallway, because the school itself is unlocked now.
you can't get into the vestibule
Right,
right
so there's big
there.
gatherings in after school hours. I'm sure all the schools have gatherings after hours,
Yeah.
even just people on the weekends or whatever, because
Right.
they're all just open fields. Yeah, it's too bad we have.
Why don't they, well, I guess safety reasons, yeah.
Yeah, just figure out the security piece of it, right? You don't want people going in there and taking these things. So I know at the beach they have them now, right? And I see Paul Sunday sent them down there a while back. I saw pictures of that. So they are publicly available in other areas of town.
Yeah.
But at the school, they're thinking,
I'll talk to Molly about it. She was the one, actually, Molly was the one who came for the training, the principal, which was really great because
Yeah,
she is
awesome.
there.
Yeah.
She goes to all the.
always present, yeah.
I'll mention that to her though. And I have to see if it's locked otherwise at the other schools.
Oh, I don't think the box itself is locked.
No, it's not the box.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the
the hallway.
vestibule.
You get
It's
access
into that entrance.
Yeah, but sometimes those fields are scheduled by Parks and Rec, by the soccer league, by
There's
the
always soccer practice.
baseball,
Yeah.
so it's, at some point they have to lock the school down, and a lot of these aren't necessarily town, municipality associated, school
Yeah.
associated events, that are there. And so
We'll
those.
do it. I'll get it
those-
everywhere, Sam.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I think taking just one life makes it worthwhile
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
That's what it
Absolutely.
costs,
So on to summer school. Summer school, we're at 4 locations. I just got the list for the general summer support program today, about 135 kids. Our elementary ESY, extended school year for elementary-aged special ed students, it's a really high population. It's close to 365. That's going to be over at Mill Hill. So I have 2 nurses working there, at least for the first couple of weeks, to make sure they get their feet on the ground. Then we have the middle school or secondary school ESY, extended school year, and that's over at Roger Ludlow. And the Stratfield Summer Support I just mentioned, there's just about over 135 or so. Plus they have all of the, I don't know if your kids did this, but Safety Town.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love Safety Town. The going into kindergarten program, the kids, run around their little town and learn some basic safety rules. It's a really good program. So just the 4. Oh, the other one is at Mill Hill. That's where the big special ed elementary ESY is. Other things that have been happening, we have a new representative from the Lions Club, the people who provide classes for everyone. And oh boy, what a find. He's out of Ridgefield, but he said he would take us on. And he's already helped 3 families with a few kids here and there get classes. They work with lens crafters up at Trumbull. And then, let's say they'll fail during our screenings that we have, and then, I don't have any money for the glasses. So Lions Club picks up an exam, and they'll pick up prescription glasses as well. So that's worked out really well. He's so responsive. It was great find. I wanted to talk about a few communicable diseases, not COVID, that did really make an impact this year. One was conjunctivitis, and I can't figure it out. We've had 3 times as many cases as last year, 4 times as many cases as we had in 1920 in pre-COVID. So we went from 93 in 1920 to 122 last year to 360.
2019 and 2020. Yeah.
19, oh.
It was.
Sorry, way back. This year we have 360. So we have had classes where 3 or 4 or 5 kids will get it, yeah. We've had, the custodians go down and wipe down, do hand washing lessons, wipe down the doorknobs. But really, once the kids are started on the drops, and provided they don't have any real, yellow exudate coming out of their eyes, they're allowed back in school. A lot of these cases, it could have been, allergies were rough. Look at my eyes. Allergies were rough this year. That may have been part of it. There's allergic conjunctivitis, which you really don't treat with medication, but you really don't get the exudate. Or it could be viral, which antibiotics aren't going to tap. But a lot of them were the yellow gooky kinds, and that's what we were the most concerned about. Our policy is they can return to school once the antibiotics treatment has begun. One thing that I'm looking it up, trying to figure out what's going on, there were a couple of studies that related conjunctivitis to COVID, and particularly in children, but very few people are actually getting tested. You have conjunctivitis, you're not going to go get tested for COVID at this point. It's kind of been disproven or not really related, but there were a couple of studies out there. So
You can blame anything on COVID, huh?
I'm sorry?
You can blame anything on COVID.
Let's. I saw something today. I forget what it was, but I'm like, really? You're going to blame that on COVID? It's amazing.
Well, and now the test is readily available. They're not cheap.
Oh, really?
COVID test.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that happened pretty early on. That's been going on for a while, right?
Right.
The cost. Another thing I wanted to talk about was strep. The nurses were complaining a lot about, the incidence of strep and a lot in the classroom itself. One of our issues was that kids were getting diagnosed. They'd go to their pediatrician, and the pediatrician were telling them you can come back within 12 hours of starting on an antibiotic. And actually, that is the CDC recommendation. But then the CDC has a little footnote saying that if you're at risk for a group setting in which the spread could easily happen, stay home for 24 hours. But I haven't been able to, the people at whatever practice is saying come back within 24 hours, they don't know what's going on in these children's classes. The nurses do. The parents are saying, the doctor said, who are you to tell me? So I had Dr. McDonald come in, and he reviewed whatever we had, and he's staying with 24 hours, and I fully support him on that. Because there were a lot of cases. There was like a 16% increase in the number of cases, and there were definite clusters, particularly in grades K, 1, 2, and 3. Not too much in the high school. That's correct. Let me see. Okay, annual visits. Just to go on, the statistics for annual visits by the school nurse were reviewed, and once again, across all schools, I haven't broken it down by school, we've had a 15% increase in visits from last year to this year, as of this afternoon. And, it's only one metric, but I think it's a pretty tangible way that you can indicate the acuity of what's going on in the classroom. I'm sorry, what's going on in the health office. Emergency drill review. I just want to talk to you a little bit about this because I think the nurses did something really good with their emergency drills this year. Usually we have them twice a year, once in the beginning of the year, once in the, after Christmas. And this is, when someone's ill. It's not the lockdown drill. It's not the fire drill. It's a medical emergency drill. We have our teams. We, get volunteers who hopefully are trained in CPR. In Narcan administration, they're usually on it. But we never really, we'd sit around and talk about it and like, okay, mishap, come to room 211 or something like that. And nobody really got very hands-on about it. It would be like, oh, and you're going to do that, and you're going to do that. But three of the nurses, a group of nurses at one of the middle schools and another nurse at one of the elementary schools really went whole hog on it. They brought, that's very professional, huh? They brought the Recessa Annies and the child-sized ones that we have quite a few of in our office. We had the trainer AEDs. So they just set up these scenarios. One of the nurses, she set it up and said, okay, we're going to meet at 3:30 in this room. And when they came in, she was already doing compressions and didn't have the AED and just like, what do you do now? You have to dive into it and just really do it. And this was the second go-round for these people. They did the first at the beginning of the year and then the second one. And I was really impressed with what they accomplished because, first of all, it made everybody realize what they didn't know and what they really, where the gaps were and where they had to fill them in. Same thing happened at the middle school as well. And I think once they, I think some of the takeaways were the use of the mannequins was very good, actual task assignments, the use of a drill leader to identify somebody who's the drill leader. A lot of times it's not going to be the nurse. I personally, when I was in the schools, I was always in charge, but it's not the best thing sometimes because she's really taking care of the patient, and it could be the principal or the assistant principal, and they're the ones who are like, okay, this, and everybody has their assignments. You're doing the emergency card, you're going to go where the EMTs are coming in, open up the doors for them. You're going to go get the AED that's locked up in the front hallway, things like that. So it was really helpful. I think they really did a deep dive on it this year. And I just had them speak at our last staff meeting. And just to inspire the other schools, to do it. So I think that we'll really get a lot of use out of those mannequins in the future.
That's awesome. I mean, quick anecdote, I took care of a child not that long ago, where last year, like early in 23, he was an Naugatuck student, second grade, and had cardiac arrest in his classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And if not for his teacher and the school nurse, he wouldn't be here today, but they very quickly recognized what was happening, initiated CPR, he was transferred and has a pacemaker now. It's very unusual.
Oh, really?
But
yeah, that's unusual.
But he's alive and well because, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
So, great for them.
We do mock codes in the hospital.
Yeah.
Right, so that's, but we used to say, okay, I'll check that off.
Yeah.
But to really get down on the ground and do the compressions and, what are we doing, was really helpful to everybody who was there. On another thing, we have just wanted to let you know, we had 8 nursing students from Sacred Heart. They completed their public health clinical rotation this year. The schools are interesting. It's Prep, Assumption School, St. Thomas, and Mill Hill. So I think a lot of the principals, particularly at Assumption, she felt a connection with the Catholic education thing, and she really wanted to go out and support the Sacred Heart students. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, for my final thing, I spoke with Terrence about this afternoon, so it's okay for me to discuss it. I decided to use ChatGPT to improve a lot of the care plan, the nursing care plans that we have in the school, the templates for them, so that the nurses are getting like the absolute latest and greatest from whatever ChatGPT can grab from their resources and spit it out. And I've done a couple so far. One, we had a new student come in with, oh no, it wasn't a student. It was just, this is like a kind of an unusual diagnosis. It was sickle cell anemia. So I just put in as the prompt into ChatGPT, you know, give me an individualized healthcare plan from the nurse's standpoint for a student in school with sickle cell. Give me nursing diagnoses, evaluations, blah, 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 blah. And I think I only have one copy of it, which is kind of dumb. But I just wanted to, I got this in like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really,
amazing.
really wonderful.
You're more tech savvy than me, nice job.
It was crazy. It was really, really good. And I've done it on a couple of other, you know, give me an asthma care plan template so that the nurses can go in and, the nurses can go in next year and just put in the prompt, or, you know, we can develop them over the summer, create a library. And the ones that we have, they're great. I'm sure a lot of the information is duplicated, but this is like really cutting edge. It's very comprehensive, more things than I really could ever think of. And 3 seconds, you can't beat it. So
Who validates?
I
Someone
do.
has to, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly Sam's question.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it serves as a template,
Yeah, it's a starting
it's
point.
a tool.
and then it's
Yeah.
reviewed by those who are gonna implement it, you know, to make sure it's accurate.
What do they call it, AI hallucination or something, when it starts to invent data?
Yeah,
Uh,
making it up.
Yeah.
No, I would do that, just like
Yeah.
I would do the ones that we normally have. And I'm interested in applying it in other situations. One of the things that the nurses came up with, not really related to AI, but they wanted to have, I don't know, maybe as a parent you realize it, a lot of parents don't know the little idiosyncrasies of the nursing protocols, the health office protocols and policies, things like you need a note from a doctor after you're hospitalized to let you back into school. You just can't, you know, sprain your ankle on the basement on Saturday and come in with your brother's crutch. We need a note from a doctor saying that you got trained in how to use this. You know, some schools have stairs and no elevators. Really, it happens. So we need all of that, not only for a liability perspective, but also for the safety of the child, to make sure that, yeah, he can do this, he can go back out to kids. A lot of parents don't realize that. They went to the emergency room on Saturday night and they're done and they just want the child back in school. So we asked to have, I made a couple of copies of this. So I surveyed the nurses, just seeing like what they would be interested in having in this notice to parents. And we could put it up on their website, you know, the school website, the health office website. We could send it out in Parent Square. But it's just like these little things that that are our policy, and they're very well documented in our manual, but parents may not necessarily know it. You know, just to make it more familiar to them. Here, Carolyn, have some bedtime reading, okay?
Big one, Jill.
Yeah, sure. So it's just the things that come up frequently, and I get, you know, they just said, here are the ideas that I have for it. This is what I think is important to share. And, you know, 3 seconds later, I have this document. I haven't proofed this, okay, I just did this afternoon. But it really, I think it'll help them. I think it'll give the nurses some relief too, to tell parents, like, at the beginning of the year, hand this out to kindergarten parents. You know, you definitely need, this is middle school. Kindergarten parents may have, you know, bring an extra set of clothes with your child to keep you in there. So we're embracing it, put it that way.
Great.
All ready?
This is excellent. That's really very good, actually.
Oh, thanks. We'll see. It's nothing's final. Oh, I'm sorry.
And Mark, if you could note for the minutes that Jill went longer than me.
That can't be true. That cannot be true.
It's both very informative. Thank you both very much. So, were there any communications from anybody?
Hopefully I take one from you. I get a little spam email.
I still get those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
You're kidding.
Yeah. Well, not really your email, your name attaches some.
Right.
Yeah.
How is this happening?
Jay says, Mark, can you give me a call really quick? Yeah.
I still get,
Is it a voice message?
No,
no, it's an email.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an email, okay.
Oh, so it's,
I get,
we got the
I'm getting
weekend.
voice messages ones now. It's like,
Oh, really?
you know, hey, you have a voice message. And it's like, click here, and it's like, oh.
Who is doing these things?
please say something that I can easily replicate.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. That's terrible.
We had a rash from Bill Gerber, right? You guys?
Yeah. So we're thinking that.
Like, call me
Call me
quick,
now.
and I'm like.
Really?
Yeah. Almost like once a week. It's funny.
Yeah. I got two from him telling me to go out and buy gift cards.
Evil people out there, I think.
Mhm.
Terrible. Is there any old business that we want to share?
None?
Any new business?
None?
Any other comments? Anything else? Okay, no, so, if not, could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank
You're
you
adjourned.
very
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.